Thank you for having me. This is great. Yeah, so I work with women in midlife, particularly what I like to call everyday female athletes who are really struggling with their energy in particular, and maybe health concerns as well. But what it comes down to is that they've gone to their doctor, they've done all the blood work, they try to figure things out, they do all the things that they know to be healthy, eating right, exercise, training, all the things. And their doctor is telling them that everything is normal, but what they know is that everything is not normal. I do nutrition and gut health coaching with these women, as well as mindset coaching, and I bring in Reiki as well. And the purpose of all of that is that these are truly very pervasive healing practices that made a huge difference in my life. And I came from being a therapist, and I was blown away at the new level of health that people could achieve by diving into gut health and Reiki and these mindset practices.
The people we look up to most and put the most like stock in as a society, a lot of times we can't necessarily count on to have those answers that we need.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's funny. I mean, I know some amazing physicians who do everything in the world to get to the root of an issue. And then there are others that, I mean, my God, they have like 15 minutes to spend with you, right? It's hard to get to the root of an issue. And also, I think it's just that gut health, in particular, in Reiki as well, like these are not, they're not mainstream medical practices at this time, right? And maybe one day they will be. I mean, not using Reiki. I mean, Reiki is an energy healing practice. And in maybe modern society, it's kind of considered often as a very like woo-woo sort of alternative healing. And the fact is, there's plenty enough medical technology. I mean, quantum physics, right? Like backs up, the principles behind Reiki about using energy to heal very pervasively on a physical, mental, emotional level. And then gut health, right? Like this is a little bit newer in our world, and it's not quite a standard practice yet, right? Like I wrote a book called Powerful Not Tired, which we can talk about for sure. And I go in depth about gut health. And I was just like a couple hours ago talking to a lady who's actually a physician herself, and she's an endurance athlete. She trains, she eats healthy food, she does all the healthy things, and she has actually had gastrointestinal testing done, and yet it still did not cover the gut metabolites that I test, right? And it's actually, it's actually a very simple thing, right? Like when I test somebody's gut health, which is one of the first things I do with my client, I mean, it takes about 90% of the guesswork out. And the things that we test, I mean, it's your gut, it touches every aspect of your health. It touches your energy, your hormones, your mood, your sleep, your cognitive clarity, right? Your ability to think straight, your immunity. Holy cow, like 70% of your immunity is housed in your gut, right? And going back to this one particular person, she had attempted to get all that done through like normal, medical avenues, and none of that was actually looked at, right? So, I think there's definitely an effort in the medical world, but I think that this kind of testing and emphasis on gut health is just not a standard thing yet in our medical community.
It seems like almost the fitness community and the what would you call it? I guess, you kind of do have a distinction between like the health and the medical communities, but it seems like the health community is more willing to, and I think a lot of it too is based off of like fear of losing your license or fear of, all those kind of things too. But I think there's a lot of people who are in the health community are more willing to try some things out and are more willing to be those kind of front runners for certain things. And I wonder if that's always been a thing. I wonder if the kind of established medical or um, what was maybe seen more as just overall health in the past was more conservative in regards to methods, and it took kind of people that were seen as like very outgoing in the space of health to do some of the things that are now seen as more normalized. Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Yeah, and I think what's coming up for me in this moment is how, again, like I was a therapist and I left the world of therapy. I'm no longer a therapist, but as a therapist, that's not medical community. I don't know, depending on how you look at it, but there, thankfully are, licensure requirements and ethics and regulations and laws around that. And again, thankfully so, because they protect the public. But what I, encountered in my own journey of discovering gut health and seeing what a difference it made in my life, not only athletically, it blew open doors for me athletically. Like I, made it through barriers that I had been like hitting my head against a wall for like 4 years, right? And then I healed my gut and was like not just opening the door. I mean, I was like jumping over it, right? But the thing that actually really stood out to me was to see its impact on my mood, right? So, when I first tested my gut, I was surprised to learn that serotonin is a gut metabolite. So, like a lot of us are familiar with it as a neurotransmitter that's associated with our mood. If you go and get prescribed an antidepressant, for example, like it's going to likely have something to do with serotonin. Um, but I didn't know it was a gut metabolite. 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in your gut. And so when I tested mine, it was super low. Like it was really low. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a therapist, right? Like I do all the work to, heal myself and work through my own like history of trauma and things like that. And then I'm working every day to help other people heal their mood. But then I go on this journey of healing my gut over 6 months, and I can see on people go up strictly by me improving my gut health, like not doing anything else, right? My serotonin went up and I could feel the difference. Like I was a happier person and I was falling asleep at night again. Like serotonin is directly related to your sleep as well. And having, my digestive health was so much better. Serotonin is related to that, right? And this is like one gut metabolite we're talking about. So I guess what I'm getting at is what I found is that I'd have people walk into my office, wanting help with their mood, right? And I was limited in how I could help them, right? Like because of the ethics and regulations and laws and everything, I couldn't just say, hey, let's go test your gut with this company that I'm working with now because I totally believe in it. Like it crossed all kinds of barriers, right? And so, as a professional that like really, really cared about helping my clients holistically, to do all the things to help with their mood so that it wasn't like this really uphill battle of just, hey, let's change your thoughts, right? Well, actually, no, we can heal your gut and make this a lot easier for you. I was limited. I couldn't do that, right? So, yeah, I guess all that to say, like, the health and medical community in a lot of ways can be very limited by the very things sometimes that help protect us at the same time. It's kind of a catch-22.
Unfortunate that there's like this, even when people do know what to do to help, sometimes, like you said, it's some of the systems that create the trust or create the structure itself that don't allow the best things to end up happening.
For sure, and that's a tough spot to be. You know, I love the space that I'm in now of being able to help people fully, right? Like on just a very pervasive level, like to do the things that pervasively heal physically, mentally, emotionally. And I mean, again, just in every aspect, right? Like from improving, somebody's immunity to helping them athletically, like break through barriers to just, I hear this all the time. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Like helping people get to a place where they're not tired, right? Because our gut health, Reiki, like all of those things are very attached to our energy levels, right? Just our ability to go through the day and not feel like we constantly need coffee, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're living in a world where it's much more convenient at times and much more well known to do those like cover up things instead of the solution based things. But there, you were talking about athletic performance with the gut, but I also remember hearing a story about this was um, mini Olympias or Olympics ago, and this this guy, I think it was a guy, it might have been a woman athlete, but they basically went from like almost not being in the Olympics anymore. Like they had done it and they kind of were getting a little older. And then they had discovered breathing and I think got like a breathing coach and like learned how to manage that much more kind of manually, I guess, at the beginning to kind of retrain. And they had like blown their old performances out of the water, even though they were older. And the biggest thing that they changed was their breathing. And it just goes to show you that there are all these
Wow.
more like natural or more less invasive, if you will, kind of deals to get these crazy results. I mean, that one also, you could talk about breathing with sleep or breathing with energy or performance or all these different things. And it's just, well, once again, it's just crazy that, you look at the gut, you look at breathing, you look at just all these different things that can have such a powerful impact that not too many people really know about that could, they could do a lot of it in some senses, like by themselves, like take the power back and take their health back in their own hands.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you said that because one of the things that I say all the time is that you are powerful and you are perfect exactly as you are. And sometimes it really is just a matter of us shedding or unlearning, releasing burdens or stored energy or just things that we've taken on that are not true to us or things that have maybe, muted or stamped down like what that very natural power and perfection within us. So really I look at what I do and as a way of not like adding tools to your toolbox, but really just making space for that natural perfection that is within you, that natural ability to heal and recover, and be awesome, right? And be awesome.
And so getting into a little bit about what you do and your background and experience and all that kind of stuff, take us through a little bit about like first, I really am interested in Reiki and kind of how you learned about it, what led you there, and then how that experience of experiencing that for the first time, what that was like for you.
Reiki is actually one of the most recent additions to what I do. And when I discovered Reiki, I was truly blown away by how powerful it was. Sorry, maybe for those who are not familiar, Reiki is an energy healing practice, and traditionally is done in person. But little known fact is that Reiki actually can be done at a distance, and that is because energy does not know space and time in the way that you and I do, right? And again, that's backed up by plenty enough research, medical technology, quantum physics, all the things, right? And so it enables me to work with anybody, anywhere, right, all around the world. Um, so it uses energy, universal life energy. That's what Reiki means. To heal and balance on all levels. So physical, mental, emotional, right? We're, talking about, hormones, chronic illnesses or injuries or pain, right? Mood, right? And everybody would emphasize maybe like everybody experiences Reiki differently. So, one person is going to say that they just feel an amazing sense of calm and inner peace. Somebody else is going to say that, they experienced a very abrupt healing to a physical pain. And somebody else is going to highlight that maybe they feel a little more like their body has an enhanced ability to heal, right? That when they experience something, they can heal faster from it. Well, other people are going to highlight that they have maybe experienced, depression or anxiety forever, right? And now all of a sudden they have like this much deeper sense of inner calm and healing, and freedom from that they've never experienced. So it truly is a different experience for everybody. And I would say for me, it has been all of the above. And so, as far as when I first received Reiki, and I say receive, I actually really want to highlight that because One of the things I love so much about Reiki is that it's truly not something that you work for. You don't have to figure out anything. And actually, that can be the hardest part for some people is that you truly are just opening yourself up to receiving it. Like that's it, right? And so when I first received Reiki, I experienced a lot of things. You know, some people maybe didn't mention this one when they're actually in a Reiki session may see colors or feel warmth or cold, or they may visualize certain memories or have images or emotions or thoughts pop up. That did come up for me. I did have some trauma memories that came up at the time. When I left the session later on that day, some people experience detox like symptoms. And I absolutely experienced that. And the reason I highlight that was because the detoxes that I had, there were a few different ones. One was I felt like I had the worst caffeine headache ever, and I was not detoxing from caffeine. But interestingly, I did cut back on caffeine very soon after that, and it didn't affect me at all. It was weird. It was like I pre-detoxed from caffeine before I actually detoxed. I don't know how to explain that except that it was Reiki. The other thing was I had a gastrointestinal detox. And the really significant thing here for me was that I had done all the work at this point to heal my gut. Not that that's like a one and done thing. I mean, you can always be in the process of healing your gut. But I had done significant work in healing my gut, and I did not ever have a gastrointestinal issue. I used to all the time. Now, like not at all. So for me that day to have a gastrointestinal detox, and very clearly so when I went to the bathroom, it was like, what am I detoxing from? I have no idea. And I didn't need to know, but my body, mind was able to release whatever was in my body that it didn't need to have, that didn't serve its highest good. And Reiki is amazing for that. Like it just enables your body and your mind to release whatever is not for your highest good, whatever stored energy is there that doesn't need to be there. And again, you may be aware of it, but you don't have to understand that process. And then another, I guess I'd kind of call this a detox, depends on how you look at it, but some people experience dreams. Certainly we all dream, and just, some of us remember that more than others. I would say that, historically I'm one that just like occasionally remembers my dreams. But for me, once I started practicing Reiki, pretty much for 3 months straight, I dreamed every single night and remembered it when I woke up. And sometimes they were very much, just the way dreams do, where it doesn't really make sense. It was kind of, maybe just events from the day, or just, again, not something silly, doesn't make sense at all. And then other times they were actually very, significant, emotionally, driven kind of dreams. And, in the past that would have really bothered me maybe when I woke up, but now I was truly able to wake up and just have that awareness that my body, mind, through sleep and dreams was simply releasing whatever didn't need to be there anymore, whatever did not serve my highest good. And so for months that happened. And so, on the other side of that, I mentioned, my experience of healing through trauma, with, complex trauma. So it's, that's been a lifelong process. I never imagined that I could have the experience of freedom from depression, anxiety, and panic attacks that I could have once I experienced Reiki. Again, huge improvement through gut health, like that majorly helped my mood by improving my gut. But then once I introduced Reiki, it was this, just a whole nother level, right, of healing in that area of my life. In addition to certain, physical, I don't want to say illnesses, but sometimes like minor conditions that would pop up for me that I was able to heal much more quickly from while I was practicing Reiki. So all of that was my experience. So of course, I was very excited to bring this to my clients as well.
Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. Kind of go in detail a little bit about what that process, what that practice is. Like, is it something that you do with someone? Is it like, let's do it guided and then you can kind of learn how to do it, you know, on your own, or what's that look like?
Sure. So, Reiki is traditionally done with a Reiki practitioner or Reiki master. So, the Reiki master is the one who is simply channeling Reiki energy to the recipient. That session, there, like it is the most anticlimactic thing you will ever experience. Like there are no bells and whistles whatsoever. So, when I have a session with somebody, again, like I do distance Reiki. You don't need Zoom technology or anything, to do a Reiki session. So basically, Daniel, if you were my client, you and I would just decide on a time, say, 8 o'clock Monday morning, right? And so at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, you wouldn't log into Zoom or anything like that. You wouldn't even see me, right? You would just find a quiet place in your whatever space, I want to say home, but wherever that is for you, right? A quiet spot where you can basically be distraction free and you can sit or lie down and you will just set the intention to receive Reiki, to be open to Reiki, and to it healing and balancing you on all levels, and to release whatever is not for your highest good. And that's it. So you would sit down or lie down for about 30 minutes. I tell people to set a timer on your phone because you might fall asleep, because Reiki can be very deeply relaxing, right? And it's totally okay if you fall asleep. You set the intention to receive it. I am on the other side as the Reiki practitioner, the Reiki master, giving Reiki to you. And then after 30 minutes, you get up and you drink a glass of water. That's just to help your body mind process whatever it may need to release. And then you go on about your day. So that is a Reiki session. And so, when I work with people, we do several of these throughout our coaching experience. But also for those that are interested, you can actually come to a place where you do practice Reiki on yourself. It's just a matter of what we'd say being attuned to Reiki energy. And that is also a very simple process of me as the Reiki master attuning you to Reiki energy, and then you can begin practicing it on yourself. Again, it's not complicated at all. It's very simple. It's not, there's no access barriers to universal life energy, right?
Interesting. Yeah, you know what? It almost sounds very similar to like a prayer, right? Like you're saying, can you pray for me? Like in not like obviously of this 100% way, but like it almost has those same kind of like feelings to me about it, where it's like think about me, like if I'm sick, think about me in a positive way, or think about like me. I don't know exactly, what that situation would be or whatever, but like that transfer of like positivity maybe, or like just like whatever that is, that energy into, that person maybe. Like it seems very like there's almost something very ancient about that.
Yes, yeah, it is very ancient. I love how you use that word. And yes, I would agree. It's very much like inviting that Reiki energy into yours through another person, right? And yeah, I mean, it is like, I mean, positive energy sure would be one way to put it. Reiki will always be for your highest good. It will never do any harm, right? So it is always a source of positive energy and healing and wisdom and light and life. Um, yeah, and it is an opportunity for a person to invite in that Reiki energy through someone else.
So as the practitioner, is what is that experience like for you? I mean, is it something to where you're consciously almost like pushing energy in a certain direction? Is it something to where you're thinking like, hey, this is maybe what this person needs, or this is what they've kind of told me that they could use, or like how as the practitioner do you direct it, or do you direct it at all? And maybe how do you like capture that energy and send it in the right direction, and just all of that, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So maybe a couple of things there. For one thing, Reiki is all about intention. So as the practitioner, I'm using a certain protocol, definitely, but I'm using my intention to invite in Reiki energy and to channel it to, for example, you if you're receiving it, right? So I am using a particular protocol, but I'm also just inviting in that energy and sending it to you. And it really is as simple as that. I mean, I feel like some of the things that are simplest in life are the hardest to, grasp onto. But it truly is that simple. And as far as, maybe how I direct the energy, I don't, other than directing it to you and through like standard protocols of like where in your body and mind I would direct the energy to. But honestly, some of those protocols, as Reiki practitioners, like we go through them, but we also have this deeper knowledge that Reiki will go wherever it is needed most. And so I don't have to send it to a particular place in you. Now, here's the thing. If, Daniel, if I'm working with you and you tell me that there is a particular thing that you are experiencing as a Reiki master, like I will go through my traditional protocol of how I send that energy, to your body and mind into different places. But then I also am going to give some extra love and intention to the place that you have told me about that is of importance to you. But it is also with that higher sense of trust that in the end, Reiki will go to the place that is needed most. And, one thing I want to highlight there is that the wisdom of Reiki is just deeper than maybe our normal everyday wisdom, right? That the wisdom and intuition, it is a part of us. But the reason that I highlight that is because you and I may have something that we think we know the answer to, like this is the problem. But Reiki often knows that actually the issue is somewhere else, right? As an athlete, right? There are some things that I've invited Reiki into for physical healing and have experienced physical healing around that. And then there are other things that I have not experienced that physical healing around. And sometimes that's frustrating. And sometimes there really is a deeper awareness that just because I think that this is the issue or this is what needs to happen, that there's a deeper intuition and wisdom that knows that actually there's something more important or there's something else that is in need of healing. And that deeper healing will in turn pervasively affect everything else.
Where does the practice originate? Is that well known?
Yeah, so it originated, well, a better way to say it would be that it was discovered by Dr. Yusui Mikao in Japan. And I'm totally losing the year that this happened. Like I want to say the 1700s, like I should know this, but I'm kind of forgetting right now when it was discovered. And we say discovered because it's Reiki is universal life energy. It's been around forever since the beginning, whatever the beginning was, right? And I definitely believe that there are different cultures and different practices that have tapped into Reiki and call it something different. So, for example, the ki in Reiki is the Japanese way, language for life or like life force energy, right? But if you use another language, you might say chi, right? As in like Tai Chi, right? Chi is just another language for life force energy. So there are different, cultures and practices around universal life force energy. It's been around forever. And so this is one practice, right, that taps into it. That was discovered, by this man in Japan. And it was just basically after, a long period of meditation. And he, there's this story around it where he comes down a mountain and was basically given, this gift of healing, and he just began sharing it with others, and then began teaching it to others and passing it on to others. So, again, like I think it is really important to know that there are a lot of healing modalities and practices, ancient and some more modern, that tap into universal life energy. And I think a lot of them are wonderful. And I, have certainly spent time with other practices as well. Reiki is one that I've just found a deeper, more profound level of power and healing that has really surprised me, especially being somebody who has sought after so many other healing modalities, right? It complements some of the other ones. And in a lot of ways, it just goes deeper and it's more profound.
So after, you experience this and, you have a positive experience and you think, okay, now I want other people to know about this. I want to dig deeper. I want to learn more. I want to become, someone that can help people with this. What were those steps to get there? And then, even I guess now to this day, like what are some of the hurdles in regards to like getting people on board with this?
As far as me and my personal progression, so I I am the kind of person, if I'm interested in something, I'm going to get certified in it. So my my first real experience with Reiki was actually me being attuned to Reiki energy. So right off the bat, I didn't even just like go for a session with somebody. Like I went on the path of getting attuned to Reiki energy and on the path of like certification and becoming a master. And that's just how I do. Like I'm kind of a driven person. So that's how it went for me. But as far as like sharing it with other people, I have actually been incredibly surprised at how open. I wanted to say how open people are, but I want to say how natural it is for some people. So I am like I live in central Louisiana, and I think maybe I have a mindset around what people are open to and what they're not, just because of the culture and religious traditions around me, which to me into like any Reiki master, Reiki is not in conflict with any like religious tradition or cultural practice or anything like that. I mean, as long as it's based on like deep love and goodness. But barring ones that maybe are just like evil, right? Reiki is not in conflict with any of that, but I think maybe in my mind I am nervous sometimes about how people will respond to it. But in truth, what I found is just that, certainly there are people that are not interested in all, but interested in it at all. But most people that I've talked to are just like, great, I've tried some different healing modalities before, or I've tried Reiki and it was a really positive experience. And it's actually been a lot simpler than I expected.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Do you, I guess, share like a common kind of what an experience will be like, or do you kind of just say, hey, just follow me here and have the experience and, take away from it what you will, kind of like, I don't want to influence or I don't want to set standards or set expectations that aren't necessarily, like there's not a one experience fits all. So I don't want to tell you that it's going to be a certain way and then it's not. Like, how do you, I guess, prepare someone for that?
I probably err more towards the latter of what you just said, like leaving a lot more room for somebody just to experience it, as opposed to, me trying to influence their experience. I share with people a lot of what I've shared with you, right? Like my own personal experience with Reiki, common reactions, that's what common experiences with Reiki, kind of like I said before, like some people just experience feeling really calm or fall asleep. Other people, maybe physical kind of healings. Other people, maybe mental, emotional kind of healings, detox like symptoms, right? Like I share with people the common kind of experiences and maybe what to what to do before and after, right? As I shared with you, like, how do you prepare for it? I go into, do you want to listen to music, right? Like, I usually share with people, like, if you're going to play music, just something without words and that's not like emotionally laden for you. So that it doesn't cause you to like interpret the experience, right, based on the music that you're listening to. But all that to say, I generally don't go into a ton more than what you and I have shared. Like, I'm always happy to answer questions for people who, just have questions, right? Or doubts, right? Like, I mean, I had plenty of doubts when I first did this. I received Reiki originally from a distance. It was a distance Reiki session. And so, yeah, I definitely had doubts, right? That I never saw the person who was doing the session, right? There's no Zoom. I just find that quiet place and just trust that they're doing it on the other side, right? So, I mean, yes, like I had a lot of trust issues, and so I talk with people through that. Like, there's no problem with that, right? Like, you can be compassionate toward your own doubt, right? You can take it along with you. That's perfectly okay. Some people have questions around like, what should they be thinking about, right? Especially, I resonate with this, like someone just having a racing mind, right? Like, in my latest book, Powerful Not Tired, I do go into more depth about Reiki. And one thing I talk about in there is the idea of clearing your mind, right? Like that, that's like defeating for some people as soon as you hear that, right? But what, I talk about is how, first of all, you don't have to clear your mind, right? Your brain was made to make thoughts, and Reiki knows that. I look at clearing your mind as permission. It's a gift, right? For you to sit there and receive and not have to figure things out, get on your positive self-talk or thinking, right? Like, figure out the problem, or like you don't have to do that. It's permission to let go of all that. It's permission to clear your mind. It's not this thing that you have to do, right? So I share with people that, certainly answer questions, but other than that, I try to just leave the experience to the person. Whatever they experience, let it be what it is. If someone wants to process it afterwards, then I'm happy to do that. But we also don't have to process anything, right?
If there is a prescription in a sense, like let's do this every week, let's do this every month. I mean, is there a maintenance? Is there or like what is the recommended if there is one, or if there's not, how do you kind of build that for someone?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So let's consider, for example, if you wanted to be a healthy person and lose weight, right? You may choose to just eat healthy food every day, and that would be a great idea, right? You would need to do that. You might also feel like something more extreme is necessary, like getting surgery, right? Weight loss surgery. And that would be really great. But of course, you would also want to follow that up with the everyday kind of stuff. And I see Reiki is kind of all of that, right? Like, it can be this very beautiful one-time healing experience, right? And it can feel monumental, or it can feel very gentle and very much like this is an everyday sort of process, like an everyday part of, just restoring and healing within, just like you go to sleep every day. It's part of your restoration, right? Like, Reiki is almost like that. I would say it's both. Not everybody's going to do Reiki every single day, right? Like, I leave it up to a person's intuition. Like, you don't necessarily need to, right? As a part of my program, what I offer to people is to have a Reiki session bi-weekly. So I work with people for 4 months. So every 2 weeks, we will do a Reiki session. However, there are some people that are going to want that more, right? And so, I certainly offer the opportunity to do Reiki sessions more. And also, kind of as we discussed a minute ago, like the opportunity, if a person wants to, just to be attuned to Reiki energy so that you can perform it on yourself every day if you want. For me, I'm a Reiki master, so I bring Reiki to the world. So it's important to me to do Reiki every day. I do miss some days, but mostly I do it every day, because if you're going to heal the world, you should heal yourself first. So again, for me, it's important to do it every day. It's also been very, very powerful and impactful in my life. So I want to do it every day, even if I'm not doing it for other people. I want to do it every day for myself. So all that to say, I think there's a level of just personal intuition on what's important for you, right? Maybe that one-time session, or maybe every other week, or maybe you want to do it daily. I think that you'll know.
Well, is it something that like, okay, I'm going to do it one time, I think 30 minutes or an hour, or something that's maybe considered a little longer and it's going to be more intense? And so it's like, it's because it's this one time thing. But if I were to do it more frequently, maybe every week or every day, even, it would be 15 minutes or, whatever a shorter time would be, and it might be less intense. Is it just like a flow almost that's constant, no matter like you don't maybe shift the intensity, it just is what it is? Or does time and intention affect intensity? Or like, how do you kind of, if you once you do figure out kind of what you want to do you kind of change some of the default settings to make it fit into that frequency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say there's, like in my practice, there's a standard of 30-minute sessions. So whenever someone sets up a session, and that's, having that standard is an easy way, right, to just know how long it's going to last, right? Like I tell people, when you sit or lie down, to set that timer on your phone for 30 minutes, and then you'll know that the session is over. Get up, have that drink of water, get grounded again, right, and move about your day. And that works, right? And Reiki can accomplish what it needs to accomplish in that 30 minutes. But I will say that there is also that element of intuition, especially, on the part of the person who is practicing Reiki. So I could say, the person who is practicing Reiki and the one receiving it, but also if you are attuned to Reiki energy, like if you've gone through that process and you are doing a Reiki self-treatment, okay, so you're doing it on yourself, both of those cases, that yes, there's definitely a level of intuition that maybe we need to linger in this moment a little bit longer, or maybe we need to linger over a certain area a little bit longer, or maybe, I was going to do like the standard protocol of where I direct energy to, but maybe I'm truly sensing, just, from my intuition, that there's something in particular that needs more energy and needs it longer. I like the way you put it, that, if you're doing Reiki on a daily basis, or just more frequently, it is a lot easier to do a short session here. I love flowing into, just being in a moment and noticing that it would be really beneficial to invite in Reiki, and it take 5 minutes to do so, and that's fine. And maybe later I'll do something longer. But those shorter moments are also really great too.
What was the challenge in regards to like being able to put these experiences that are sometimes like indescribable or very hard to describe into words? I mean, how challenging was that?
First, what I'd say is that I wrote 2 books. And my first book was called Couch to 50 Miles. And I think I intended that book to be a little bit more what the second one was, a little more of a how-to and putting things in concrete kind of examples, and education. But there was so much story there. And to do that, just to say, this is important and this is what you should do, it just felt way too dry. and like it just didn't capture the heart of everything that I was trying to say. And so the first book, I ended up, it took on a life of its own, and I put my heart into it, and I put the story into it. I put my heart into the second one too, but I mean, what I mean to say, there's a lot more like emotion and story and inspiration, right? And so I felt like I was able to convey a message one way by doing that. Like people pick up that book and they're like, I'm inspired to do the thing that I know that I've been wanting to do, right? Whether that's being healthy or like starting to walk again or heal themselves in whatever way. Like that's what people say when they read this book. So I think when I came to my second book, a lot of the story and the emotions had already been like poured out into this first book. And I think I naturally just felt a freedom to be a lot more like direct and concrete with this. And so I'm much more direct and concrete in this book. And I think with Reiki, maybe initially there was a feeling like, oh, people kind of see this as like woo woo, or, how do you describe, um, how do you describe pervasive healing, right? But I think the longer that I practiced Reiki, like I began to truly like feel in my body and my soul and my mind that, it's very concrete. It's concrete. Like the healing is concrete. There was depression and now there's not. There were panic attacks and now there's not. For like whoever, right? Like there was pain, like physical pain, and now there's not. There, there was agitation, and now there is inner peace and calm. There was tiredness, right? And now there's energy. It became, I think maybe once I got past some of my own limiting beliefs, even after I'd experienced the power of Reiki, like there were still limiting beliefs around it. And I think once I got past those, I could see it for what it was. Like this is very concrete. There's no separation between a holistic, all around spiritual, mental, emotional, physical healing. Like there's no separation in there. You're a human being. All of those things are true for you at once. And so to separate any of that out or to speak to it any differently than that would be to do exactly what you and I were talking about at the beginning with, the health and medical community, right? Like where we have to like pick this one, symptom and like treat it, but we missed everything else, right? So for me, this was truly a very concrete way to speak to everything. And I would say maybe to tack on to that, I also added in all of my, the doubts that I struggled with and the questions that I had, because I know other people have them, right? Like one thing I'll throw in, my very, very, very first experience with Reiki was actually with my dad. And the reason that is significant, like you don't know my dad, right? But the reason that's significant is that my dad is not like some, holistic healer yoga guy. Like I'm a yoga instructor, but he's not. Right? Like he is a blue collar worker. He's been a carpenter, an electrician, and roofer like all his life, right? Like what electrician, carpenter, roofer guy becomes a Reiki practitioner? And so when I originally heard this, I was like, what? It didn't even make sense to me. And at that point, this was years ago, I was like very close-minded. And so I was like, okay, well, whatever. You keep on doing that. And he would do this, like he would practice it on my stepmom. She had like an accident years back and like still experienced chronic pain from it. And she's a very like healthy person, eats well, is very active, all that. But she just has pain from this accident. So he would do Reiki on her and it worked. She'd be like, yeah, the pain like is relieved every time he does this. Back then I was like, okay, and not open to it. So like those are the kinds of stories that I brought into this book as well, because I know there are people who are like, isn't that sort of thing for like, hippie yoga healers or whatever. Maybe it is, but it's for everybody. It is absolutely for everybody.
It was really fascinating to kind of hear you explain what it is. And I'm sure there's so much more that you could talk about and, dig deeper into it, which would be really fascinating as well. But I really appreciate you coming on and doing that and just informing us on just another way that we can get on the path of where we want to be. So I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I enjoy talking about it. Like I love for people to know, about these very pervasive healing practices. Like I want people to know that that it's simpler than you think, and you don't have to struggle, right? Like you don't have to struggle. And your health and healing really can be a very simple thing.
If you want to share any links or, any websites or anything like that, your books or anything like that, you can go ahead and share those things.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So my website is goddesshealth.org. And on that website, right away, you can get a copy of my book. It's a very short, simple read, and it just goes into depth about gut health and Reiki, and also what I call the goddess first principle. And this is just a kind of a new take on self-care and truly loving and nurturing ourselves, our whole beings. So yeah, you can get that book on my website, goddesshealth.org, and it gives a really good picture of me and what I do, and if like you resonate with those things in your life.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.